Welcome to 5 Minutes in the Word, a daily devotional in the Word of God.
Logan, I suppose everybody goes through trials. I know for many of us, we feel like this past year has been one trial almost after another. Being concerned about an illness that we didn't know anything about, and there were people dying from it, of course, and especially in some places, a good many of them. And then isolated, and even when we're together, in some ways, we're kind of isolated because you couldn't get close. No hugging, stuff like that. So trials, they come, but does David give us any insight into what we ought to do when that happens?
He does. In Psalm 40's probably some of the best evidence of that. So in verse 1, David says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and he heard my cry. Now, we can assume here that David's, obviously he's going through something. Don't know exactly what it is, but it's something that he's petitioning God for. And we can, we understand that because we go through stuff all the time. And we petition God for, first of all, we should petition for his will to be done. But we may selfishly ask for something to go a certain way. But here, while David is waiting, to me, it kind of implies that while he's waiting, he's continuing to pray to God. So while we're going through trials, at the beginning, we may pray for something to happen or maybe God's will to be done. But while we're still waiting for the fruition of that to come, we're still petitioning God through prayer, just as David is here. And then verse 2 kind of gives forth this idea that God does hear every prayer. Because in verse 2 he says, He drew me up from the pit of destruction out of the miry bog and set my feet on a rock, making my steps secure. Kind of going back to the many times where we talk about having concrete feet.
Right.
But this is evidence of God's hearing that prayer because he pulled David out of that destruction. Or in Tennessee, there's a bunch of swampland that we have back home. And it's just nasty, marred up mess.
Right.
And I just imagine getting plucked out of that and placed into something that's secure because the wise man built his house upon the rock. And he had concrete feet. So verse 3, he put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Now that trust in the Lord is really the opening to the theme of this entire psalm here. But he put a new song in my mouth. That salvation that David received from God when he was going through that trial, it's reminiscent of singing a new song, because whenever we hear a new song on the radio, it's catchy and we enjoy it, and most likely we listen to it over and over again because we enjoy that. Salvation is like that new song. It's something exciting, and it gives us hope. Verses 4 and 5 really illustrate how wonderful it is to trust in God in everything that we do. Blessed is the one who makes the Lord his trust, who does not turn to the proud, to those who have gone astray after a lie. You have multiplied, O Lord, my God, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us. None can compare with you. I will proclaim and tell of them, yet they are more than can be told. When we place our trust in the Lord, the numerous wonderful deeds that God will do for us will never be numbered. We can't thank him enough for the many things that we can't even count. We can't comprehend how many things that he does for us. So that's a blessing of being able to trust in the Lord. In verses 6 through 10, again, kind of hit on this fact that God hears my prayer. In verse 6, in the English Standard Version, the phrase David literally pens, you have given me an open ear. Open ear, God is receptive to prayer. The Hebrew translation here could mean your ears have dug for me, opening up a hole in the ground so you can offer that prayer, I guess, so to speak. But one thing that in this section that really jumped out to me is that when God heard David's prayer, it's kind of like the submission that David in turn gave to God was not a problem for him. In verse 8, I delight to do your will, O God. Oh my God, your laws within my heart. And then skip down to verse 9. I have told the glad news of deliverance in the great congregation. Behold, I have not restrained my lips, as you know, O Lord. I have not hidden your deliverance within my heart. I have spoken of your faithfulness and your salvation. I have not concealed your steadfast love and your faithfulness from the great congregation. So now here, God has heard David's prayer. David was in submission to God, and in return, David continued to tell of God's good deeds to others.
Right.
Verses 11 through 12, kind of flash back really to me the story of the Israelites making bricks when they were in Egypt in Exodus chapter 6. Due to the fact that God is a God of the present. He's of the past, the present, and the future. But the past is kind of murky and the future is definitely murky. But he's really a God of the present in that he's always ready to answer prayer. It may not be the answer that we would like, but we always get an answer. Verses 11 and 12. As for you, O Lord, you will not restrain your mercy from me. Your steadfast love and your faithfulness will ever preserve me. For evils have encompassed me beyond number. My iniquities have overtaken me, and I cannot see. They are more than the hairs on my head. My heart fails me. So now, God is always there to answer prayer. And then finally, David makes this appeal to God, kind of like an additional prayer. Verses 13 through 17. Be pleased, O Lord, to deliver me. He's asking to be delivered. O Lord, make haste to help me. So don't let no grass grow underneath your feet. I want you to deliver me. Then 14 and 15, the word let is used 3 different times. Let those be put to shame and disappointed altogether who seek to snatch away my life. Let those be turned back and brought to dishonor who delight in my hurt. Let those be appalled because of their shame who say to me, aha, aha. Verses 16 and 17 as we close now. But may all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. May those who love your salvation say continually, great is the Lord. As for me, I am poor and needy, but the Lord takes thought for me. And you are my help and my deliverer. Do not delay, oh my God. He is continuing to make that appeal, but then verse 16 kind of illustrates going back to that submission is not a problem for David, because he understands that he's placed his trust in God. He knows he's going to be blessed when he places his trust in God. So he tells others about that as well.
It's a great psalm. It's interesting. The writer of Hebrews picks up on a whole bunch of this.
Yeah.
And basically indicates that David was writing in some ways in the spirit of the Lord that would come. And of course, the Father heard him too.